Welcome to Hancock's VMware Half Hour. So, welcome back to another episode. So, at the end of July 2024, Broadcom released another update to VMware vCenter Server 8.0.3, and they released an A, and I'll put these release notes in the description as usual. Yeah, so this was released on the 18th of July 2024. It's build 24091160. And as usual, a couple of people on Experts Exchange have sort of kind of turned around and said, you know, have you got a video that shows me how to update? I have actually done previous videos using the reduced downtime upgrade function to update from 8.02 to 8.03. And of course, you can use the, I think probably maybe what is the legacy VAMI application management interface to update your vCenter servers as well. So for the sake of continuity, and just before I get into a load of paperwork today, which I hate doing, I thought, I know what to do. I'll quickly put this video together, and whilst the bulk of the upgrade is being done, I can basically go and do some paperwork, and then I can come back and I can summarize and finish off, and hopefully all is completed. So if we log into our VMware vCenter Server 8.03 and we select the if you like, the root in the hierarchy, we will clearly see that currently our build is 240.225.15, and basically it turns around and says that there's an update available. So we can click update available. Now I already have the ISO file version plugged into the CD-ROM drive of our VMware vCenter server. I've already done that. I don't think there's really any need anymore to show you how to connect an ISO to a virtual machine. But you do, to use the reduced downtime upgrade mode function, RDU, you do need the full 11 gig ISO download. Now, if you can't find it at Broadcom, a little tip here, when you actually basically go to VMware vCenter server, or if you go to your entitlement, you'll find the patched version in solutions. So if you're looking for it like an idiot like I was a couple of weeks ago trying to find where it was, and you can't find it when you actually basically click VMware vCenter server, or you click VMware vSphere 8 Enterprise Plus and you look for vCenter and you can't find that version, if you click solutions, you will then find the updates to the particular product version you want. So there you go, quick tip. It might actually basically save you some time. So I'm going to click next. It's going to basically turn around and tell us that a backup's required. So I'm just actually basically having a little look here now. So we haven't actually basically got any backups at the moment. Probably should back up, really, to be honest with you. But one thing, of course, we must do, which I've just remembered, is that we must snapshot the virtual machine just in case. So I'm just going to basically click take snapshot, and I'm just going to create a snapshot there of our VMware vCenter server. And I'm going to have a little look here. It's quite possible that the SCP server that we were using is maybe not available anymore. Okay, so we've actually got a backup there from July 19th, so I think I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to basically click next. As we've seen before, it's going to upgrade the plugin, and basically it turns around and tells us that it actually basically needs this later version of the plugin. So I'm just going to click upgrade plugin. And while that's chunking along, I'm just going to grab my first espresso of the day. Oh, that feels good. That feels good. Okay, so it's going to stage, and it's going to install that plugin, and as you will see by the last video that we did, if you watch the last video that we did, it will now reload the interface, and it will load this new plugin so that we can continue to install 8.0.3.00100, or as you can see the build number there, 24091160. And I'm going to just pause. I'm going to pause this whilst it completes that. Okay, so I cheated a little bit. I remembered that this is going to nag me later on because I've not made a current backup, and I should really practice what I preach. I've come across enough Experts Exchange questions where people have had issues with VMware vCenter server. It's got corrupted, something's happened, they can't restore it using Veeam, and I've asked them, have you got a backup? And they haven't. So there's a warning to us all there, really. Snapshots, fine. Backups, fine. But get a backup of your VMware vCenter server when VMware have gone through all that trouble of actually basically creating a function for it in the VAMI interface. So just quickly, if I basically go to my VAMI interface, you can see here that I've got a backup now, 1.2 gig, that was completed today. Keen eye amongst you will notice that I've actually basically changed this to SFP. I had a few comments about using FTP. Yeah, okay, my bad. Is a lab only environment, so I'm not really worried about anybody sniffing clear text passwords going across the network in FTP. But again, practice what I preach. Use a secure method rather than FTP. I'm surprised, to be honest, really, that FTP is even in this list, and HTTP as well, actually, to be honest with you. But I don't know, maybe VMware is making it easier for everybody. But of course, if they make it easier for everybody, they also make it easier for those threat actors as well out there that are going to do damage to our network. Okay, so back to the RDU function. Okay, we've mounted the ISO, we've got an appropriate backup, we've upgraded the plugin, and that's where we were before I paused to go off and basically make a backup. So I'm going to basically run the pre-check. We've run this pre-check before, and we've had some interesting results with it coming up saying unknown, but it hasn't really given us any issues when we've actually basically gone forward and done the upgrade. And if you've seen the previous video on this where we upgraded before, you will see that it is just very, very similar. If you're used to installing VMware vCenter server, the appliance, the Linux version of late, since version 7, version 8, then roughly speaking, we're doing exactly the same thing again. And this is really how the RDU function works, is it actually really creates another new VMware vCenter server based on the information that you provide it. Okay, so we got lovely green there now. That's an improvement. That's an improvement. Okay, so I'm going to click next. But just on that note, configuring the target appliance, basically what you're doing is creating a new VMware vCenter server. The only difference being is that later on, when you do the old hocus pocus cutover function, it actually basically copies the data from the old VMware vCenter server to the new VMware vCenter server, turns off the old, starts the new. And that's really the only delay that you're actually going to encounter with this. So you can plan the cutover anytime you want, out of hours, at the weekend, so it's not going to affect production. But you can actually pre-stage this anytime you like. It's not going to affect your production environment. So I'm going to click next. Oh, sorry, it's not next. You have to click configure target appliance. My bad again. So I'm going to click accept license agreement, join the improvement plan. So my target location, so I'm going to deploy in the same location as the source. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go back and check. So currently VMware vCenter server is actually hosted on ESX001. So I'm not going to deploy it in the same location as the source, because here, of course, I've got some very, very skinny, literally, ProLiant microservers, Gen 8s, and they've only got 16 gig in. So I'm actually going to deploy it to another host. I'm going to deploy it to ESXi I002. This will spice the upgrade a bit. I think this is a little bit different to what I did before. So our root password, and I don't know what it is this week. I've answered 3 questions now on Experts Exchange with people forgetting their root passwords and wanting to know how to reset them. You can't. There is no reset function. I'll put the video that I've done on that in this description so you can see. But basically, there is no magic reset function, reset password. The supported solution is to reinstall. So I'm going to click next. Click on view the certificate to see it. ESXi server as target location is not supported currently. Please provide a vCenter server as a target to proceed. Okay, that's a host or IP address. Okay, I don't really. Okay, so let's just deploy as source. Okay, so deployment type. The provided network name is invalid. This is all looking a little bit different than before. So we've got a number of yellows there. We can't actually. Okay, let me just pause and work out why we can't do this time. Have they got some more additional checking here? Just let me pause this a minute. Maybe it's just one of them weird days. Okay, so I'm going to deploy in a different location as the source because my ESXi001 is a bit thin on resources, and there's just no way that it's going to be able to power up another copy of VMware vCenter server on that host. So I'm specifying the same vCenter server again with its password. View the certificate, accept the certificate, followed by next. So I'm now basically going to choose the data center, EE data center. I'm now going to be able to select the cluster. I'm now going to be able to select ESXi002 because currently nothing is running on ESXi002. Virtual machine name, well, I'm going to call this VMware vCenter server 8.0.3a. Temporary password, temporary root password. Actually, that's temporary root password, that's confirm root password, followed by next. Because those are going to get changed when it actually basically copies the configuration from your old VMware vCenter server to the new one. Deployment size, tiny. Storage size, default. Happy with that. Target size is invalid. Tiny. Okay, let's select small. Okay, so now we're going to select. I'm going to select different data store for this one. So I'm going to enable thin disk mode, although that only supports thin anyway. So I'm going to click next. Now we got caught out with this one before because remember I put an FQDN in if you watch that video because it says optional. But if you do put an FQDN in there, it's one that it does have to be able to resolve, otherwise it's going to fail. So temporary IP address 168.182, and I think before I used 139. But I'm just going to check that that's okay to use. 138. Yeah, so we use 13. No, I don't know what that noise was there. It's very, very windy today. Should be doing bees, but can't. It's too windy. Default gateway. DNS servers if we need them. Okay, I'm just going to go back and check this. VM network, IPv4, static, 192.168.182.139, 255.255.250. You can actually use DHCP there, actually. FQDN, I'm not going to bother about that. Last time I put that in, I couldn't resolve it. It all failed. So if you are going to use an optional FQDN, just make sure you can resolve it. Followed by next. Okay, just going to quickly have a little look. So the host name or IP address, if the deployment is there, administrator, EE, get a compute resource, it's going to put it on that. Small, regular, okay, I'm going to click finish. So, as we've seen before, this is now going to create a VMware vCenter server 8.0.3a, hopefully. And when I click next, so we should start to see some reconfiguration and things happening down here. Let's click Start Upgrade. Now, I've actually selected the manual switch over there, so that gives me the ability to complete the cutover or the switch over or the failover or whatever you want to call it. Out of hours, if I was actually doing this in production and this was a real environment, but I'm not. But that will give me chance now to bog off, get a swig of my lovely soft drink. Other soft drinks are available than Pepsi Max for the maximum taste. Anyway, so that's going to give me the chance to bob off and sit there doing some paperwork all afternoon, and then hopefully when the paperwork is completed, we're just looking for time here, 1:10. That will give me an opportunity to go off and finish my paperwork and then come back, and then we can do a switch over and I can just finally finish off and we can get this published. It's the bank holiday weekend here in the UK. I'm off work today. It's Friday, but that does give us an extra day on Monday to do stuff. I am really hoping, if the weather holds, to able to bring in the summer honey crop. It's been a very, very bad year. It's the worst year I've known it, really, to be honest with you, in beekeeping. You know, we have really, really struggled at some points of the year to keep them alive by feeding, and the weather in this area has just been very, very poor. It's picked up in August, but I'm still not certain really whether or not that we're going to see a bumper harvest this year. So it's been a lot of hard work for nothing. But what else would I do at the weekends other than produce episodes for Hancock's VMware Half Hour? Anyway, so I'm going to disappear, and I will come back shortly, and we'll finish off and we'll summarise. Okay, catch you later. Okay, so later that day, in fact, actually that worked out pretty well, because I finished all my paperwork and came back, and it was sitting there waiting for me to hit the switch over. But I just wanted to just quickly go back. So we've put the ISO in the CD-ROM drive of vCenter server. We created a backup. We upgraded the plugin. We configured the target appliance. The target appliance has been deployed. We can see it here. VMware vCenter server 8.03a. That currently is running on our ESXi 002. Our old current VMware vCenter server 8.03 is running on ESXi 001. And if we go back to the upgrade option, it's actually basically waiting for us to switch over. So, you know, in an ideal world, in a production environment, you would stage and do all that configuring of the new appliance, etc. And, you know, then you would actually basically wait until over the weekend or out of hours or early in the morning, you know, once you've gone through your change control and got it all approved. And then basically you can hit the switch over button, and in the past, you know, I've seen that there's about 10 minutes worth of downtime, which is far less downtime than if you use the VMware upgrade version, which I'm not actually going to do. I'm not going to do a VMware upgrade version in this series. You know, I'll put the link in the description to how we do the VMware upgrade version, and effectively really you know, you would actually basically select update here from within the vCenter VMware interface, and basically you would do the update that way. But I'm not going to do a video on that because I've done one previously. So I was asked specifically really to do an RDU version to 803A. So, okay, so there's our VMware vCenter Server 8.03A appliance. It's currently live. You may remember I actually basically use the IP address 182.139. It's responding to pings. And our current vCenter server, the one we're currently using, is 192.168.182.138. So effectively it's going to change the IP address of 8.03A. It's going to do a migration of the data, and it's going to switch over. So, you know, we're going to do that now. I'm going to hit the button, and again, I'm going to disappear, put this on pause, and I'll come back when it's completed. So I'm now going to basically say switch over, and it's now actually beginning to start. The vCenter server, vCenter 8A, is being upgraded. Please wait, do not go back, refresh or close your screen until the upgrade completes. So, we just have to wait and be patient. And I think previously, I think this took about 10-15 minutes. So, with that, I'll be back in 10 or 15 minutes. So again, about 10 minutes and the switchover is completed. So in the past, we actually basically saw that what this really meant was it's copied all the data over to the current vCenter server, in this particular case 8.03A, but we still noticed that it took a while obviously for the services to restart. So let's click open vSphere client. Okay, so we've got a launch. We're not getting a no healthy upstream or a 503 at the moment. We've got a login prompt. It's looking good. We're going to log in with administrator at vSphere local. And fingers crossed, we should be shown an inventory, and we are now running live production version of 8.0.3a, and up here we've got this lovely green banner that basically turns around and tells us that has been successfully updated to 8.0.3.001.00, and there is our vCenter server 8.03, which is currently turned off, which of course has got that snapshot associated with it. If we wanted to power back on that machine and revert that snapshot for whatever reason, but you know, we're happily running here on 8.03. And if we just basically go to the summary here, then you can see here that the current version we're running is 8.03.2409.1160. So that's it. That's all I wanted to cover in this video, because I had a few requests asking, have I got a video to show me how to upgrade from 8.03 to 8.03a using RDU, and that's it in a nutshell. So come back for the next episode of Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Well, I'm going to actually have a little look at the changes that have been made. You may remember that I did a video, a couple of videos back, where we actually basically had a look at the new CVE, the Microsoft whole security incident over the ESX admins group, adding it to AD, etc. So I'm going to have a little look at, as I say, you may remember in that video I actually basically used some ESXi 7 hosts, which are based on the ARM Fling, where that CVE exists. But I couldn't actually demonstrate it in this particular lab because ESXi 1, 2 and 3, they are already running the build 240.25510, where the vulnerability exists. So what I'm going to do in the next video, I'm going to have a little look at those hosts, and we're going to add them to AD, and we'll see whether or not that the same compromised issue exists or not. Anyway, so that's the next video. Anyway, so thanks so much for watching. All the best. Have a good afternoon wherever you are in the world, and goodbye now. Bye bye.